you guys doing today? Everybody's good?
Yes, sir.
Good. All right, I'm Chief Master Sergeant Hamp Lee. I've been in the military, United States Air Force, for 23 years. I started off as a C-130 crew chief, and I retrained into administration, where I served in the last 16 years, and I've also served as a first sergeant just before becoming Chief Master Sergeant. Throughout my years, I've taught this class probably since 2007. And I've always wanted to teach this class as a chief. I believe it's important to hear from senior leaders about bullet writing and someone that has already made it through the wickets to be able to teach this class. And so this class will be about 2 hours long. It's going to be a lot of information. So everything that I cover in this class is in the book currently. But if there's one thing that I can get across to you, even if you fall asleep, you leave early, is that the EPR and even the OPR, those two documents are the most important documents in your career. For you, the OPR is the most important, and also for our enlisted members, the EPR is the most important. And oftentimes, you will find here shortly, as I'm sure Colonel Lovelace and Major Axton can attest to, that oftentimes we're so busy that we can't put a lot of attention on the EPR or the OPR. Sometimes it's almost an afterthought. And in my position as the Mission Support Group Superintendent, we have FSS over us, you have CE, you have Comm Squadron, you have LRS, and we also have the OSS, the Operational Support Squadron, under us. And so I review a lot of EPRs. And oftentimes there's so much going on that I see the EPRs at the last minute before they're due. And so we're just kind of running through them, making sure that we give a good review. But because these are the most important documents that we have, it's important that we put a lot of attention on it. So I appreciate the opportunity, again, for allowing me to come down to be able to speak and present this to you. This is also a book that I provided as well. I'll give some other details about the book, but it's just my way of giving back to the Air Force. After being chief, after 20 years in the military, I wanted to be able to provide a document to be able to just to share with others, just kind of concise on how to write bullets. And so a lot of people are getting promoted and their careers are definitely improving, or at least being able to capture what they're doing. Nobody's lying about anything, but they're able to just capture the information and what they're doing. So there's some things that you'll be able to take with you as far as in your career as well. And I'm just gonna go over just bullet writing. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, this is your time. This is my time just to invest back into you and to give you a good foundation. I don't think most of you, from what I heard, really received a bullet writing class, so this may be your first exposure to bullet writing. So what I'm showing you here is a definite departure from what most bullet writing classes are about. Most bullet writing classes, you'll sit down and here's a bullet. I won't talk about a bullet until about an hour in, but I will explain why. And it's a really important reason why we missed that. And that first part that we missed in that first hour is the reason why. It's like garbage in, garbage out. And if we don't write good EPR bullets, it's because we're not capturing the right information up front. So we have to prepare ourselves before we can begin to write the bullet. So this is my ROE. If you have a question, comment, concern, I'm here. This is my time just to give back to you. So if it's something that you don't understand, or just ask, because maybe somebody next to you that may not understand that as well. I'm just here for you guys. All right, so for today, let me see if it'll come up. It's thinking. It will come up. So this is also a free PDF that I provide. You are under no obligation to download the book. This book is sold commercially, but I do have a legal review that allows me to provide copies of the book for free. But just because of my position, you're not under any obligation to download the book. But if you do, and I'll show this slide several times throughout the briefing, you can just take a picture of the QR code and it'll download an immediate PDF version of that book that you have in your hands now. And that's just to be able to share with your friends. So today, this is what I'm going to go over. As an overview, I'm going to talk about the enlisted evaluation system. And this covers AFI 36-2406. This is officer and enlisted evaluations, but I'm going to just set the baseline as far as enlisted development, and even for yourself as well, developing enlisted members and what that's about and why that's so important. Talking about career mapping, as far as developing a good plan, also building a great word picture. Most of you, that affects everyone in this room. Everyone here right now is building a word picture. You already have one on yourself. You may not be thinking about it. Then I talk about bullet elements as well as a detailed EPR review. So when I cover the detailed EPR review, I will talk about, I wish I brought a few copies of the 910, 911, but I'll talk about how to write a good duty description as well as both versions of the EPR line by line, and I'll also share my 2015 EPR when I made Chief Master Sergeant. So when I was a Senior Master Sergeant going up for Chief Master Sergeant. So I'll provide line by line of that EPR and just kind of go over it a little bit and some of my thought process for that as well. So in the beginning, there should be the one as far as prepare, perform, and document. And this is how I really want to be able to break down bullet writing. And this is also for you. As an officer, there's some things that you will prepare, and there's some things that we're going to perform, and then we'll also document. We all go through the same process. But this process for prepare and perform, you see very few enlisted members doing this. But it's something that we need to focus on. We don't focus on this enough. We just come at the end of the year when your EPR is available, or OPR, and say, boss, this is all I have. And they just give you the bullets, and they don't think about whether or not, what I've been doing this past year. I wasn't planning for anything. I just know that this is all I did, and I didn't have any thought. But we all think about, when you're talking about setting goals for yourself or setting opportunities, everyone wants to be promoted, but they're not planning on how to do that. And they don't think in that manner either. I'm telling you, for me, I was a Senior Master Sergeant before I started thinking about planning or thinking, hey, I can probably reach my goals. But that's late, but I had an opportunity, had some good mentors and some good situations and opportunities for myself, but I wasn't preparing and I wasn't performing in a manner to set myself up to meet whatever goals that I have, because all of us have specific goals. And I'll get into that a little bit. Some of us want to just outrank our parents, or we have some other things, you want to reach a certain position or do certain things, but we're not tracking that. And we're not really connecting the dots or building those breadcrumbs to help us reach that point. So in preparation in the enlisted evaluation system, this is just going in the process for how you're going to, or how maybe one of your subordinates, maybe the superintendent, is going to evaluate an enlisted member on what they're doing. And you will incur the same process as well. It may be just slightly different, but we're all going to be evaluated based on how we perform. And it'll be based on certain criteria. Be a little bit different for officers, but we'll go into it just different, real briefly. But in the enlisted and officer, in the 36-2406, there's three basic things that we're looking for. And the same thing can be translated for you as well. The first one is performance. And this is it's just generic. Are you doing your job or are you not? And there'll be some criteria, how well you're doing your job, how many cogs you're moving, different types of things. So I'm evaluating that. And then there's also this long-term record. If some of you may be prior military, or you see someone that's retiring, typically when a member is retiring from the military, as they're standing there, you have someone officiating their military, the ceremony, and they'll begin to talk about the member's career. And they'll go over all these EPRs, this long-term record. But then it talks here about cumulative record of performance, and in the AFI, it says promotion potential and other management decisions. Remember, I talked briefly that the EPR and the OPR are the most important documents in an active duty member's career. And that document is going to determine whether for someone, whether or not they're going to go to OTS. Maybe they'll have a step promotion, there's a step package. So now we're going over our direct commissioning programs. And so we're looking at the last 5 EPRs, the last 5 reporting periods for a member, long-term record. So this airman, there are several airmen that came up to ours, they send them through their squadrons, now it's up at the group. And when I looked at them, there was one, I said, well, we can't push this forward. Why? Because the long-term record didn't show a consistent standard or a progressive growth throughout their career. It didn't show that. Maybe they need to do another program, but that may not be it for them. And so when we're thinking about long-term, we don't always think about long-term. And a lot of enlisted members think about each EPR, what's in front of me right now. And then when it's next year, they forget about the previous EPRs, and here's what's in front of me today. And then the next year, the same thing. They're not thinking that 5 years from now, you never know. Some of you may have never thought you'd be sitting in this room right now. 5 years from now, you never know where you may be. And sometimes some airmen today, they say, you know what, I'm just going to do 4 years and I'm done. But then 5 years later, they say, I think I want a commission. And then they're thinking, oh, this long-term record, let me go back to, what was I doing back in these years before? I wasn't doing the things that I should have done to give me an opportunity for a promotion, this promotion opportunity, or even a certain position. Some of you will get to the point where it's time to be an executive officer for a CGO. The one thing they may ask for is an OPR. They want to see your OPRs. They want to see what's already written about you to see if you should have this opportunity to get this career opportunity, because then that's career progression opportunity for you. So the same thing applies for officers and enlisted members, but it's a long-term record based on our performance. That's why this document is so important. Why we have to place great attention. And for me as a chief, I put a lot of attention. I looked at all the senior master sergeant, and I'm looking at all the master sergeant EPRs right now. And I put a lot of attention on it because I understand how important it is for our airmen. And I want to make sure that you get that. If you don't get anything else I said today, how important those documents are. And that you don't allow documents just to come and go across your desk without making sure that you're identifying the airmen and making sure that they're written the way they should be to give these airmen an opportunity to promote and also give them other career management opportunities as well. And then lastly, it's just sound information. We always want to have the sound information. You want to be honest and truthful. You want to make sure that what I'm saying is true, that it captures the right information. I had this subordinate, my first subordinate, I was a master sergeant. I was a little late in my career to supervise. And she's a staff sergeant. And she has all her ratings are all the way over, we're talking about firewall 5s, but they're the best, the highest ratings can be. But she came to our unit, this is when I was stationed in Germany, she comes to our unit brand new, and she doesn't have a decoration from her previous base. I'm like, well, why doesn't she have a decoration? Why wasn't she recognized for everything that she did? So I called them. Hey, what's going on with this? You gave her the highest ratings possible. Why didn't you give her one? Well, she wasn't all that good. Well, why did you mark her all the way as if she was? Well, there were some other things that was going on. Well, no, we have to be able to make sure we're documenting it correctly and that you don't feel bad about it. I can't feel bad that I marked someone down on it. You will definitely experience that. I feel bad about that, but all I have to do is make sure that I'm giving them an opportunity to perform at their top level to their highest potential, and then I'm going to document what they do. And I don't have to feel bad about that. I'm just going to document. And this young lady is no longer in the Air Force because I was going to make sure I was documenting what she was doing appropriately. So we want to make sure we're finding the right information, because you will have, if you don't do this, we will have members, enlisted members, and maybe some officers in high-level positions that should not be. And you shouldn't have the opportunity because we didn't take the time to document their OPRs and EPRs appropriately. So this is why the supervisor role is so important. Outside of being a first sergeant, probably supervisor is probably the most intensive or the busiest thing that I've ever done in my career. And oftentimes to take care of another airman is difficult when you're already trying to take care of your own little life and make sure that you're doing what your boss asks. Now I got to take care of all the other little lives to make sure that other airmen are being taken care of as well. So oftentimes I'm writing award packages on Saturday nights, Sunday mornings while I'm eating breakfast. I was reviewing some packages for Sergeant Holloway, and we're talking about some things while I was flying over here. The same thing, I'm doing things to take care of airmen. Oftentimes it's not 7:30 to 4:30. And so I want to make sure that I'm giving them the right review, and I'm looking at their EPRs, and I'm making sure that I give them the best opportunity to provide, to meet their standard or whatever standard that I have set for them, but to reach their potential, and that's extremely important. So, So there's going to be several things that we're going to look at for this EPR. So the first one that I'll go into, I think it's going to come up. The first one is, let me go back, it's going to be job performance. And this is the basic thing that we all have. We want to see whether or not the airman is doing a job. And you don't have to feel you have to write everything I'm saying down, because everything that I say is in that book. So every last thing. So if you want to, I'm just saying it, you don't have to, because everything is in the book. But if you want to write any extra notes. So the first thing that you're looking at is about the job performance. You want to know how well an airman is performing. How well, it's all about mission accomplishment. Are you doing your job at the level and what we're asking you to be able to do? That's number one. The second thing is quality. I want to know not only that whether or not you're doing your job, but how well you're doing your job. Even among yourselves now, you know who's doing their job and who's just getting by. Among yourselves right now, you know that. You know who's getting by and you know who's the top right now. And you know who's not. Every one of you know that about yourselves in this room right now among yourselves. So I want to know about the quality, because now that begins to separate among peers. Because this airman, Airman Snuffy is number 1, but then Airman Bag of Donuts may be number 50 at the bottom, because it's based on quality. I want to know how well you're doing your job. Not just that you're doing it, but how well you're doing your job. And then we're going to talk about, I think this was the development in skills and abilities. For you as an officer, it will be absolutely critical to give and find and provide opportunities for yourself and your enlisted members to develop and grow. Every airman, every one of you has a certain potential that you can reach. Many enlisted members, I will tell you, never realize what their potential is, because we exist in this bottleneck that all I'm doing is what my supervisor asked me to do. I didn't realize that until I was a master sergeant. You're talking about 14 years in, that I had the space and room to do what was on my mind. Sometimes some airmen learn that a little bit earlier, but I struggle with that. But then as a senior NCO myself, I'm trying to find opportunities early on to develop my airmen to help them reach their best potential, the highest potential. Not just so that I can get promoted or that you can get promoted, but so that they can find who they are and they can maximize that. I want to maximize that. That's why I write the book. That's why I'm providing these things. I want to maximize my potential because I know what I'm capable of doing, and I just want to tap into that. And then I'm hoping that's contagious to be able to do the same for someone else down the road, because my years are coming to a close. But you want to make sure you are giving your airmen those opportunities. When I was in Air University working in the A6 and the IT division, then we're giving our airmen opportunity to get Security Plus training. And it's a little bit extra for them because it's not required, but it's going to enhance their ability to do the job. And so we're going to resource the money to be able to provide them their opportunities. And that's what we want to be able to do. And then beyond that, I believe this one may be the skills and abilities. I don't know if this is skills and abilities. We'll get there, because this is a very large file. This file is about 150 megabytes. So I'll probably move it at the break. And then this provides other opportunities for them, because when you begin to see the quality, you're kind of stratifying the different personnel. You give them these opportunities to develop. You give them all those the development chances. Now you have opportunities to promote. You have opportunities to go and do maybe a special duty somewhere that'll give you further opportunities, and it continues to grow. And it's the same thing for you as well. And so we're providing these things to them, but they also need, I believe this is going to be some performance feedback. They'll need performance feedback, but they'll also need the enlisted, it should be the enlisted force structure. This is Air Force Handbook 362618. I never write an EPR, I never hold a performance feedback without having this book in my hands. We call it the Little Brown Book. I don't know if any of you they've all seen the Little Brown Book. So it's changed, it's updated. I like the way it's updated because it's progressive. It kind of progressively moves you throughout an airman's career. But if you need to know, these things are almost hidden in plain sight. They're there, but a lot of enlisted members aren't reading them. They're there, a lot of officers are not reading. It tells you exactly what to expect from an enlisted member at every rank. It tells you that. And when I write EPRs, I'm writing my EPR at the next higher rank. I'm trying to perform at the next higher rank. When I was a senior master sergeant, I wasn't trying to use my report to say, oh, here's a good senior master sergeant. No, I want to be a chief. And so I was planning my career out that it matches chief business. I'm doing chief stuff. So when you're talking about promotion potential, if I'm already operating as a chief master sergeant, oh, he's already doing that work. Let's promote him. And that was my highest board score. So it tells you here exactly what's required from an enlisted member. Exactly. Very detailed. And it's very good. So you always want to make sure you have that, so you know what to tell your airmen, what you expect. I don't just expect you, thank you very much, that's the 9, 10, and 11. All right, thank you very much. So I expect you not only to do what's required here, but I want you to perform at the next higher grade. That's what I'm looking for you. And when I talk to all my airmen, as the chief, I mentor all my master sergeants, senior master sergeants, and below. I want them to work at the next higher level. I push them all, and some of them I make mad, but I'm pushing them to their potential because I see it in them. I owe that to them as a chief. And you will definitely want to make sure you're talking to your chiefs once you're operational. But I owe that to them. I owe them mentorship and development. And I push them, and I push them based on what's in Air Force Handbook 362618. And there's also performance feedbacks. I think this is performance feedback, and all of you have the ACA in front of you. I think you just got it. So in the ACA, it tells you, if you read the little small print, it tells you exactly what to expect for an airman. This is what I'm looking for you to do, to accomplish. But in my career, I've only had maybe 4 official, you're talking about 23 years. I'm supposed to get one, an initial, I'm supposed to get a midterm, and an end of report, which is once the EPR is closed out, that's supposed to be another feedback, which I've never received. Then what you get at the end of once the EPR is written, you will sit down with your supervisor. They'll go over the EPR to begin to close out that previous session, the previous evaluation period, and begin the new one. And I've never gotten that. But it tells you right on the form what to expect. You will find when you become operational that the performance feedback is one of the hardest things to make time to do. You make time for a lot of things, and it's on your mind, but it's really hard to accomplish. But if you read that form right now, it tells you exactly what to put in there. It tells you what to look for. It tells the airmen how they should perform. And we should hold our supervisors accountable to do that so that they know what to expect. When I was a supervisor, I had airmen that weren't performing well. Come on in. Let me show you what your EPR looks like today. Let's have a feedback real quick. Oh, why does my EPR look like that? Well, because you're not doing A, B, C, or D. I had a guy, he was a staff sergeant working at a tech sergeant position. He was doing great work, but he wasn't volunteering. I said, hey, you got some markdowns right here. He's like, why? I'm the best person here. I'm doing it. Hey, it says right here, standards and conduct and volunteering. So you keep volunteering. He said, well, should I just volunteer once? No, you volunteer until I tell you to stop. Because if you do one thing, I'm going to mark you down still. Don't try to game the system. So that was 6 years ago. So if he's still in the military, he should still be doing those volunteer efforts because I ain't telling him to stop. So you keep going, you set the standard. So I want to be able to set the standard. And so for you as an officer, you're going to set the vision and the goals and where they're accomplished. I don't know if you talked about big rocks yet. Have you talked about big rocks? I'm sure you get there at some point. But you will have big rocks, you will, and some of the big rocks you'll take from your boss and your boss's boss. That will happen. But you're the one that's going to set this tone for the unit. You're going to set the vision. And hopefully in the next class, we'll talk about enlisted perspective and the triad and how important the triad is. I'll give just a senior perspective about that. But you're going to set the tone for there. So as a supervisor, as a leader there, you're going to set the tone on what you expect. And this is what you do for performance feedback. And then also lastly is the EPR. The EPR, let me pass these around. If you will just take one of each, and we'll go over it. But in the EPR, it'll tell you exactly, again, there's this small print over each section. Like the little small print when you're buying a house or a car or something. The small print you should be reading, but most of the time you don't. You just see where to sign. You sign your name, you sign your life away. Again, it's telling you exactly what to expect from an enlisted member. The enlisted member is telling you, all these documents are telling you, the enlisted force handbook, the Air Force Handbook 362618 is telling them that. The ACA, the performance feedback, is telling them what to expect. And the EPR as well. But you will be shocked and amazed to think how many people actually read these documents all the way through. They don't. Many of them just kind of work on autopilot and they're not putting those documents in. But this is the part that we begin to prepare for what we're going to do. Because how can I properly perform if I don't know what I'm supposed to do? If I haven't been given any type of standards to set, goals to meet. If I don't know what the vision is, especially if I haven't received that from you. I don't know what the vision of the unit is. We're just kind of running around. No, what are your big rocks? So when I came into my position as a group superintendent, in my initial interview, I talked to the commander and he's telling me these are my big rocks. These are the 3 things that I want to accomplish while I'm here. And so when he tells me what his big rocks are, because you're going to get that too here in a minute, then that's what I go out to do. Sir, that's your big rocks, I can roll in that. As an admin, I knew exactly what he wanted. I can flow in that very well. So he's given me the standard to set. You're going to set the tone as well. But we want to make sure that we're holding responsible for that. And so when we look at the EPR, here's all this information on how to develop that. And I want to make sure that we're capturing the right information for our airmen for that next promotion opportunity. I think that was the last one. Do I have any questions, comments, concerns? Everyone's good? All right, so we'll go to the next one. I may just, so this is where now that we're talking about preparing. So we're preparing airmen for what they should do. Now we begin the process of performing. And so the performing process basically comes down to building, we'll talk about career mapping, and we'll also talk about the word picture, which are very important. Career mapping, many people do not do, so this is career map. So if you see here, he's career napping, so that's most enlisted members. Most of us are not preparing for our careers. And there's a few reasons why. I don't know if in the military, some of us are very afraid to really talk about what our goals are for some reason. I don't know, Sergeant Jones, if you have that, have you seen that as well? Or sometimes you don't want to say that, I want to be a chief. You're a senior airman, I want to be a chief. Or maybe some of you want to say, I want to be a brigadier general one day. That's my goal. We don't ever really say that in the military. And I didn't. I was almost scared to say something. Because when you do, sometimes people feel a certain way about it. So you just kind of keep it to yourself. But then when I was a tech sergeant, I never thought that I'd ever be a chief master sergeant. I didn't think I would be selected that high. I never thought that it was possible for me to be able to get there. And I think because of that, it kind of affected my thought process on how I wanted to move out. And I had a young lady, she told me, now this is how most enlisted members' career is. We're here and enlisted members do a poor job of mentoring. Not like officer corps. You kind of have a mentor like all the way through. We don't always have that. It's hit or miss. Sometimes we have great mentors, sometimes we don't. I didn't have a lot of great mentors. I talked to my chief. I'm like, hey, chief, I'm a master sergeant. Hey, I need some help, some mentoring. Y'all, you're a senior NCO, you should know what to do. I'm like, no, I don't. That's why I'm talking to you. I need some help. Help me out. But I don't get that. So I'm just trying to figure it out on my own. So that's why I write a book. I'm like, I had to figure it out. It doesn't have to be so difficult. Let's help one another out. And so this is a lot of us. We're here in the middle somewhere, and there's all these opportunities of things to do, but we don't know how to get there. And that's a lot of the enlisted members that you will support. All they know is day to day, I'm going to do the job. But a lot of them, there was a tech sergeant, she told me, I can't see 6 months down from here. Don't talk to me about next year or the year after, because all I'm thinking about is what's in front of me right now. I wanted to be a first sergeant, but it was late in my career. And my chiefs told me, like, your peers will pass you. If you become a first sergeant, you will not make rank soon. Your peers, and all my peers will pass me. I mean, a lot of them, they're way. I have chief friends that have been chiefs 4 years. I've only been a chief 2 years. Some of them been to Air War College already. They've had that opportunity. Some of them are command chiefs. They passed me up, but I wanted the experience. So when I stand up in my retirement, then I say, hey, I have the DSD badge, say I was a first sergeant. Because I wanted the experience and the opportunity. As I'm serving my country, you're serving your country. You're beginning your story. So what does that story look like? What story is going to be told? And so I need all of my enlisted members to think the same way. I want them to think about what that last day looks like, because that's the goal. And I never thought I'd be a chief. I never thought people would select me beyond master sergeant. I just didn't. Maybe I was just kind of working along. I had my own little process working. Hopefully that everything would work itself out. And it did. I'm a chief, so you see that. But I had to figure it out, and I didn't know. And I didn't pinpoint that. There's some of your peers here that are prior enlisted. And they said, I want to be an officer. I want a commission. And so they went about the process to commission. That was their point B. They're focused on a point B. And so that's very important. It's important for you as well. What would you like to do? But you also want to think about your PME opportunities. Every time you go to your new base, or you're at a certain rank or a certain position, they're requiring you to meet certain training requirements. You want to be able to do those training requirements as soon as you possibly can do those. That's important. For your enlisted members, it's important. Because right now, in your section, as I said before, you know who completes their training on time and who doesn't. You know that already. And based on that, you'll say, oh, that person's they're on it all the time because they're always getting their training done on time, everything's good. But you also know those people that are not doing it. And there's certain words that come to mind when you think about those individuals, am I correct? People that may be lazy, they procrastinate, all that's important. Believe me, everything that I'm saying right now, even though I'm not talking about bullet riding, I'm talking about bullet riding. because it all comes into play. We're just not, we don't think, I'm telling you, a lot of enlisted members do not think about it like this. And this is why I take the time to talk about this first, because this is important. PME training. So when I have an airman that can come in, even yourselves, as soon as you're required to do PME and training, do it right away. Sometimes, depending on when you do it, it could have some career impacts. For me, earlier on, it did. So this is what I'm looking for. As soon as I'm required to do it right away. Why? Because it builds up my credibility on who I am. When instead of being a procrastinator, yes, sir.
Chief, could you explain to me what PME stands for?
Professional Military Education. So there's officer professional military education as well as enlisted. And you will receive information on a continuum of learning. Have you talked about continuum learning? So a little bit. So continuum learning, there is a process from your development, for your development as future officers, as well as for me, from the beginning of my career all the way to the end. And there's certain training that's going to occur, and for PME, the major milestones for us is Airman Leadership School, which is probably around E4, well, you're E4, but depending on maybe 4 to 6 years, depending on at what time. The NCO Academy, Non-Commissioned Officer Academy, as well as Senior Non-Commissioned Officer Academy. And we also have the Chief Leadership course for those who make Chief. And then there's other senior development opportunities as well. So from cradle to grave, enlisted members will receive training. For you will receive training as well, and it's important. But I want to make sure that when I come to the unit, I'm doing all my PME and all my training as soon as humanly possible. I want to get it done because it matters about my name. Each of us in this room have 2 family names on our uniform. Everybody. And so I'm making sure as I'm serving my country, I'm also making sure that I'm building up my reputation. We all have like stock. It's like your own business. You're your own CEO. Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force was talking about that last week. So I'm investing in myself. So I want to make sure that I'm doing that quickly. Then, for all our enlisted members as well as yourself, as soon as I get to the work center, I want to get all my training requirements done as soon as possible. I want to get operational as soon as I possibly can. I had an airman, he was working on his, so when they go through their technical training, they learn their trade, their FSC, they come into the Operational Air Force and they receive career development courses, we call them CDCs. And so he gets the CDCs, and normally they're about 1 volume a month. Some career fields have several books, and they could be anywhere from 1 to 200 pages each. So he has maybe about 3. And he's like, I want to hurry up and get these done as soon as I can because I want to make an impact in the unit. I want to be a benefit to this unit and to the mission that's here. And I haven't heard that in 23 years. I was like, man, can you come talk to some of my NCOs about what you just said, please? I would greatly appreciate that because you don't hear that often. Where somebody wants to jump in and get to work and want to help out. Some of them say, hey, I want to hurry up and finish my CDCs so I can go to school, as opposed to, hey, I want to get after it and I want to move the needle and help the mission. But I want to make sure that I'm doing the training requirements again because I'm building up my rep. I'm building up that word picture on myself. So I'm going to make sure I do those. Now we're talking about the big rocks. This is enlisted big rocks. So outside of what my boss may ask me to do, what I'm going to focus on is at my current rank, in my current base, I want to set 3 to 5 goals for myself. What do I want to do while I'm here? Well, when I was at my last base, you'll see my career map here in a minute. But I said, hey, in order to make the next rank, I want to do these several things. Or I want to do these things to get there. Or maybe I want to win an annual award. I want to get promoted. I want to have an opportunity to maybe do this special duty after a while. And then also in the enlisted force structure tier. And for the enlisted force structure tier, there are 3 tiers. There's the junior enlisted tier, there's the non-commissioned officer tier, as well as the senior non-commissioned officer tier. And so within those tiers, I'm going to look at, okay, well, maybe I want to be at the next tier. So I want to see what they're doing. And so I want to be around those people and have those opportunities. So I'm setting these goals for myself. And a lot of enlisted members do not set these goals for themselves. They're not thinking about it. All they're thinking about is, my boss asked me to do it, I'm doing it. Here you go. Some of them may say, yeah, I would like to get promoted. Most people, there's very few people that will turn down a promotion, but they're not really putting, really thinking about that process of getting promoted, of getting an opportunity. They're just doing stuff, hoping that magic somehow happens and they get promoted. But they're not intentional and they're not deliberate about the process. And that's what we want to set. We want to make sure that they're deliberate and that they're intentional. And that's what I do as a group superintendent. I'm asking some specific questions. I'm giving people specific opportunities, and this is old school, and so I'll see an opportunity come through. Hey, we're looking for somebody to run like the base, one of the large ones is to run the base annual awards. And I reply back as soon as I can. I got somebody for you, Tech Sergeant such and such. And then once he got the job, he got the position, I called up Tech Sergeant such and such. I was like, hey, Tech Sergeant such and such, guess what you're doing for the next several months? You have this opportunity to run the annual awards program. Thank you very much. Hang up. Good to go. Why? Because he has the potential. So when I see the potential in them, everybody, and I've given everybody the warning order, hey, if you're working with me, I'm going to give you some opportunities. And sometimes I may not ask first. That's old school military. We just find an opportunity for you and you're working it. And I'm making sure I'm taking care of them. They may not like it, but in the end, it's going to benefit them because I want them to grow. I see their potential, and so I'm going to make sure they get those opportunities. I'm going to do that all the time. So they got the big rocks. So now we have the little rocks. The little rocks help you get to the big rocks. And so little rocks, these are the things that help you meet those goals. And this is when you're building your EPRs. We're talking about breadth of knowledge experience, the same thing that you're going to get. Some of you may rotate twice as much, maybe 3 times as much as an enlisted member. An enlisted member may be at a base for several years. You're there for 2, maybe 3, and you're out somewhere else. You're doing something different. But while an enlisted member is in a unit, I want them to do different jobs. Not just to be in the same job. And you'll see this. You'll see someone that's the best puppy petter in the world. They can pet puppies like nobody's business. And they're just petting them, but you don't want them, I won't want that person to go clean the kennel because they pet puppies well. And so they'll be petting puppies for 4 or 5 years, doing the same thing, year after year after year. What do you think that person's EPR look like? You think they can get promoted out of that? No, they're good at, so what I look at when I see that personally as a chief, I say, oh yeah, it's good, you can pet some puppies, got it. What else can you do? Show me promotion potential. Petting puppies for 4 years, don't get it. But when you're talking about leadership wise, you need that person petting puppies because they're getting you those kudos, right? So that's where the struggle is going to be for you. That maybe I'm going to have to give someone else an opportunity because I need to develop another airman. Because I need to develop my sharp, shiny airmen, I need them to develop and do something else. That's going to be a hard leadership call on your part to be able to do that, to give them those opportunities. And I'm guarantee you will find that within the first couple of years of you leading in an organization. You'll see that. Because that's who we depend on. But I got to give them breadth of knowledge and experience so that they develop and grow. And also, it's a detriment to the other airmen. If the one airman is petting puppies, who else is going to pet them? Nobody else knows how. They only know how to clean the kennel. So then there's imbalance. Because then what happens if Mr. Puppy Petter deploys? Nobody else knows how to pet puppies. What's going to happen? All the puppies are all depressed and sad. Nobody knows what to do because he had all the training. No, I got to rotate and give everyone an opportunity to be developed. And that's going to be a hard call for you. But it's going to be one. It may be some learning challenges. You know, some people may pet the puppy and they won't know how to do it right, but they'll get there. Give them the opportunity to pet those puppies. So then we have professional and personal development. I want airmen to continue to go to school. I want them to continue to develop themselves. And this is those opportunities when your walkthroughs, because you always got to get from behind your desk. This is how you build those relationships. Talking to them about, hey, what brought you here in the military? What kind of motivates you? What are you doing? There's some young airmen, I don't want to go to school. Well, later on, they may figure it out. You plant some seeds and they'll go to school a little bit later on. Some of them like, I really want to go to school. Then as the senior leader, give them those opportunities to go to school, to get the professional development, get the personal development that they need to be able to meet their goals and to reach their point B. They all have goals and dreams and visions. And I want to challenge you and I charge you to do that, to go out to look and to find out what those are so that you can help them meet their dreams and goals. And then also unit-based and community involvement, which is really huge. You don't have to be involved in everything, because I'm going to be on some folks, if you in everything. Because if you're in everything, then you're not doing your job. That's sometimes how it is. But I want to make sure that they're making impacts in their unit, they're making impacts on the base, and they're making impacts in their local community. So maybe in 1 year, You have an airman. In the unit, there's a booster club, which is just kind of the morale group. Everyone's, just how do we build morale and foster morale and esprit de corps in the unit. So maybe they're on that committee in the unit, and in the base, they say, you know what, I'm gonna be a part of that, my tier. Maybe the 5-6, the NCO tier, the group of NCOs, I'm gonna have them there. And then in the community, I love petting puppies. So I'm gonna be out there petting some puppies in the community, I'm good. And then the next year, I'm just gonna help out in the unit. I'm not gonna run anything. Maybe I was the vice president last year, but this year, I'm just helping out. But then in the base, I wanna run it. I wanna be the president of the base. I wanna run the president's group of all the NCOs. And then I'm gonna run a statewide puppy petters and convention in the local community. So in 2 years, I've done different things, but at different levels. So it shows that I have growth. I've expanded my roles a little bit. I'm not super busy, but I'm doing all the things that I like, and I'm showing breadth of knowledge and experience, and I'm growth as well. And awards always matter. They always matter. Even the small ones, because sometimes there's some commanders, I have some commanders I don't always agree with at times, but it's all good. Then when they say, hey, other than like the annual awards, all the other ones don't matter. You have 10 Outstanding Young Americans awards, you have all these different awards come through. All those little ones matter too for Airmen. You'll see that. Sometimes they just focus on the Saijong and some other couple awards here and there. All of them matter because it gives recognition. And then it also separates people from among their peers to say that this person was selected for this level award. I'll get into mine a little bit later. So let's go over to a career map. And the career mapping, this is just my own process for how I develop my own career map. And so I review a career map quarterly, because there's some times I would know over a year's time frame what quarter I would put in for an award, a quarterly award. And so there were some times as a senior NCO where my boss, when I was a master sergeant, he'd say, Chief would come up to me and say, hey, Hamp, are you going to put yourself in for an award this quarter? No, not this quarter. I'm going to school. I got some other stuff. But quarter 3, we're in the first quarter. In quarter 3, I'm going to kill it. So I'll be over there because I got some things planned out for a little bit later on. So I'm kind of mapping my career for that time. Maybe for the year, for my entire 3 years, I want to have a quarterly award and I want to have an annual award. That's my goal. But then I may also look at it every January 1st, it's a new year, everybody knew me, everybody working out, everybody trying to eat right, everybody trying to do it, they trying to do something different. So maybe I'm gonna look at it in January 1st. I'm gonna look at it every evaluation period, because that's gonna set the tone for the next year. And what you're gonna find, you will see this, because I saw this a week ago and I almost had a conniption. Boy, they use EPRs. When you look at an EPR, from year to year, I saw some of the same bullets. Year after year after year. I don't try to put the same bullets on my EPR. Even if I'm doing the same stuff, I'm petting puppies, but I'm not gonna put that on my EPR year after year. I'm just gonna put something else on there. So I wanna review it to say, okay, how can I improve upon what's on this EPR from this year? That means sometimes I gotta think outside the box, especially if I'm in one special duty for a number of years, like some of the ROTC detachments. I'm like, hey, I may need to connect with my local, thankfully there's a local base, there's servicing bases right down the street, so I can connect with them and do something different. I connect with my functional community. There's some other things that I can do. I can expand my role wider so I don't just put the same thing, but I'm still having impacts to the mission, Air Force mission at large, not just in my unit. And then before arriving at a new duty station or base, I'm also thinking about, okay, what are my big rocks? So in my career map in 2012, I was a master sergeant going to become a first sergeant in the unit. So you talk about first sergeant? So first sergeant is has anyone talked about first sergeant? Okay. The first sergeant is the primary advisor to the commander on enlisted issues. To me, Hamp Lee III, this is one of the most important positions in a military unit as far as enlisted members. This person helps you get the unit ready to perform the mission, the enlisted members. So if there's a problem with like finance problems, they have child care issues, disciplinary issues, whatever that is, the first sergeant is going to help get the unit ready to perform the mission, each person. Critical position. And if we talk about you can write this down, it's called the triad. The triad is extremely important. And you think about triangles. So draw a triangle. We'll talk about this in a little bit. Giant triangle, put a circle in the middle of it. We'll talk about all that here in a minute. But there's the triangle. You are at the top because you set the stand, you set the tone, the vision, the mission, the goals. And at the bottom, either bottom, you can put the chief master sergeant, the chief, this is the superintendent, or you can put the first sergeant on the other end. Though you will always, at some capacity, be related to an enlisted member, but in the unit, that position to me is the most critical. And oftentimes, depending on your unit, the reputation of the unit is based on how a commander addresses discipline in the unit. If you can't handle your discipline, it's because the first sergeant not doing their job, and that's going to be a reflection on you. I see it all the time. So as a first sergeant, I took my job very seriously. My commander was promoted to below the colonel, and he wasn't going to lose his promotion because I was jaw jacking, not doing what I was supposed to do. So I was making sure he's taken care of. So this is my career map. So I'm going to my next base. I have a line number. I'm a still master sergeant. I have a line number for senior master sergeant. I'll put on senior master sergeant like 4 months after I hit the base. I'm a first sergeant. So I said, okay, as long as I don't do certain bad things, I'm going to make chief. I'm pretty sure about it, but I got to succeed. So here's my goals. So in 2013, I said I want to be on the executive council. I don't care what it is. I can be secretary, I can be the treasurer, don't matter. So by the next year, I want to be the first sergeant council president. I am an introverted person. That was the longest year that I had in my military career. And you can be introverted and succeed in your military career. I think a lot of people think this is an extrovert's military, and largely it is, but you can succeed as an introvert. You just have to think a little bit more deeply about how you're going to engage people and how you're going to get things done. That was a long, painful year, but I was the first sergeant council president. And then I said, okay, after that, I want to win a first sergeant year award at the wing, and I want to get my professional manager certification. This is kind of, it's not like just certification. I just got all my PME training, all my professional military education, maybe took a couple of management classes, and I get the certification. I think by then, it'll be enough for me to make chief. But we'll go into that in a second. So that was my career map before I went to my base, before I even set foot on the new base, before I put my new stripes on, before I became a first sergeant. Those are my goals. Those are my big rocks. I think that's going to get me there. And I'm going to show you here in a minute on all the little pieces that I had to do to get there. So we always want some feedback. And it's important to talk to our senior leaders and find a mentor to ask us, hey, am I on the right track? Maybe talk to your subordinates when you're talking to the airmen, like, hey, do you have a mentor? Have you talked to somebody? What goals you have? So when you start learning about their goals and you know who they are as people, then you begin to ask them, hey, have you connected with somebody? I know somebody over in, the logistic readiness squadron that they work on bullet right. Go talk to them. Or hey, you know what? Airman Johnny over there, he loves petting puppies too. Have you guys connected? Man, I'm telling you, he's running a used puppy petting farm over there, and you guys should talk to that guy. That's the man over there. You want to talk to somebody about petting some puppies. That's who you talk to. So you want to make sure that you're connecting them, making sure that they're on track for meeting their goals. And taking the time. That's heart right there. That's just saying that you care about people. That I care enough, and you will be amazed, even for me as a chief master sergeant. A lot of airmen don't see chief master sergeants very often. So I make it a point to go around to talk to airmen and to engage them and to ask them how they're doing. When I figure out there was an airman in security forces, in the security forces squadron, he tells me that he wants to be an OSI agent. And I said, you know what? I was a first sergeant in the security forces squadron, and I knew someone that became an OSI agent. Let me connect you with him and tell you about so he can tell you about his process. And so I went, as soon as I got to my office, I contacted him on the phone and said, hey, Huggins, man, I got a guy that wants to know more about OSI. Can you help him out? Yep, sure I can. Shot the email to him, boom, connected him up, good to go. So that's when you have those resources, you're able to connect people. And that connects them again. That keeps them even more committed to the mission. I'm not trying to play any games. I'm just trying to help people accomplish their goals. And when you're doing that, they're more inspired to continue to help meet the goals that's in the unit too. So I'm getting the feedback. And that's stripes. Guys, you got any questions, concerns? Everybody good? Petting puppies, we straight. All right. So this is the word picture. As I said, every one of you have a word picture right now, whether you know it or not, you got one. Every person in this room has something. Even as if you have siblings among you, there's the lazy one. There's the one that's always trying to beat folks up. There's always somebody with the loud mouth. There's always some type of word associated with somebody, some adjectives or some description of folks. So this is what former Chief Master Sergeant Air Force Cordy said. The Air Force not looking at numbers to determine, but a word picture that describes that performance. So yes, we all have certain comments and thoughts about each of us, your peers here, but the word picture also is on the EPR because I want the EPR to describe a certain picture. Should this person get promoted? Yes or no? It should be on the EPR. Should this person have this next promotion opportunity? Yes or no? The EPR should say that. Your OPR should say that. It should have a word picture that describes whether or not you should get this next opportunity, yes or no. And it requires 4 things. First one is competence. You need to know your job and know it well. This is all of you. Every one of us need to know our job and know it well. That's competence number 1. So when I know my job well, I also need initiative. Because when I know my job, I know where the problems lie in my job. When you go operate, you'll be shocked and amazed how many problems you will see in a unit that nobody fixes. For years, it's like a big giant hole right here in the wall, and everybody sees the hole in the wall, walks past it, or they put the box right in front of it. Nobody's trying to touch it. If I have competence, that means I see that's a problem. Some people in the squadron, they're too junior, they don't even know that hole in the wall is a problem. I see it, but because I know my job, I say, you know what, boss, you mind if I try to fix this? I learned about this in training, and I think I can fix that. You don't mind, do you? Nope, it's been sitting there for 5 years, so go right at it. So I'm showing initiative to be able to fix it. Remember, I'm building my word picture. I'm not talking about brown nosing. There's no brown nosing here. I'm not brown nosing. I don't like that. I'm just trying to show competence and show some initiative. And then when I show some initiative, I need to be dependable. That means you are going to be so thankful when you have someone where you can just fire and forget. When they say, I asked Sergeant Jones to pet all them puppies, and he did it. And I didn't even have to think about whether or not he got them all, because you know that he did. When you have someone, I'm going to tell you, I would love to have an airman or two, at least one good airman, that is competent, shows initiative, and dependability. You will want that in your units, believe me. And your bosses will want that from you. Because when you do, you get all these opportunities to influence people. So as a chief, as a group chief, I get all type of emails all the time. Like, hey, we're looking for somebody to right now in Maxwell, we're going to have the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force has asked us to host the next the Chief's orientation. So we're going to bring in all the Chief Master Sergeants and their spouses into Maxwell Air Force Base. So now we're looking at providing, this is next year in 2019, so now we're looking at, okay, who can we assign to do these? Who do you think I'm asking for? I'm looking for the people that are competent, show initiative, and that they're dependable. Because now I give them an opportunity to influence more people. What do you think is going to happen for you, for your bosses? I'm looking for an officer to be an exec. Who can I find? I'm looking for somebody that's competent, shows initiative, dependability, maybe a couple other things. But I need those. And then you have that career opportunity to do more. So your EPRs have to say that too. Because remember, garbage in, garbage out. So if I'm competent, if I show initiative and dependability, I'm gonna get all these opportunities. So what do you think now when it comes time to write my EPR, what that's gonna look like? When I got all those opportunities to do. Garbage in, garbage out. I got all this stuff. I've done all these things for the year. Now I can begin to write my EPR. Do you see that? That's why I take so much time talking about this first. Because a lot of enlisted members,